application. Then lastly, we'll be able to integrate the real-time data feedback in a digital twin to support decision making. Like QS Colaport said yesterday, he said if your data analytics is not helping you to make a good decision, it's as good as nothing. So the whole essence of all of this conversation is that so that we can be able to harness the data that we are producing in our construction activities and be able to use them and leverage on them to make insightful decisions that will help and show us the way forward. I said, data is life. In construction, we are generating a lot of data, but a good number of those data are in an unstructured form that we cannot be able to harness them. More especially as we talk about BIM, when you look at the BIM model contains a lot, volumes of data, thousands, in fact, even millions of data, depending on how rich or the extent of LOD that is defined on that very BIM model. But how are you able to manipulate and take the data that are very helpful to you and utilize the insight that it will give you to guide you in the decision that you need to make? First, we need to understand. If you don't understand the structure of the data, you may not be able to harness it and take what is useful to you. When you look at a typical bit of quantities, what do you see? When you look at the contract documents, what do you see? These are segmented data in different forms. But as a quantity surveyor who is now trained in the data analytics, you cannot be able to say, okay, this data is not in a structured form that I need to shape it. I need to transform it. I need to put it in a perspective that it can be able to make sense to me. So we'll talk about that when we are looking at the data spectrums. Then we also look at what are the construction data pipelines. In construction data pipeline, what we are talking about is the structure of the data that we are generating in construction environment. How are they like? How can we not be able to harness them? Like I mentioned example, when you have your BOQ, how can you harness data from your BOQ? The BOQ is not just a document that lies there and when the contract is done, it is forgotten. No, it's supposed to be a living document that you can always leverage upon, even in future time, to be able to make projections. Okay, so we look at that under data pipeline also. And then we also consider data visualizations. When you have been able to harness these data, you have been able to bring them in the form that you want. How then do you present it so that somebody looking at it will not be able to make insights into them? We see a pattern in the whole way that the data is structured. We have some demonstrations that we intend to present in the course of this presentation today. But hopefully, I pray we'll have the time to go through them. Now, the data that we have in constructions, we can always use them to carry out at least about 4 data methodologies that we can carry out on them. We can do what we call descriptive analysis. We can also do what we call diagnostic analysis, then predictive analysis, and prospective. This something document. Let me get something out of my way. All right. Then we have a prescriptive. What exactly do they mean? When we are looking at the data, like I mentioned to us, a bit of quantity that has been utilized in a project, a past project, and you want to analyze it so that it can help you to make future decisions in future upcoming projects. What you are only doing is a descriptive analysis. When you have to go through them, the timeline, this project, we started it by so period, but because of rain, we couldn't do so and so. Therefore, now we are going to start a future project. How do we prevent it? Are we going to start it during the rainy season so that we'll have a longer working period of time during the dry season? Or do we start it during the dry season so that before we even gather momentum, we are already in the rainy season? And that way it will not clog our progress. So some of these insights are what you call your descriptive analysis, because you are relying on historical data of what has happened before. On the flip side of it, diagnostics. When you're not diagnosing it again as, okay, this was the result of what we had. What could have caused this to be like this? We had a project, like I had something I would like us to task our mind upon. I have a saying that in Nigeria, during every new transition, projects are usually expensive. Take it anywhere and go and check it. Whenever any year you have a new transition from one government to another government, projects usually have cost overrun. So I call us to go and check, go and verify. When Buhari came in, he had a similar thing. Between July and October, there was a major price shift. When Tinubu came up also, we have a similar thing. Between May 29 and June, that there was also a major shift. Most construction projects were no more performing in terms of cost because of what? Transition. Similarly, also, if you go back in history and look at some of these things, they would also point to you that these are part of the reasons why something like this happens. So when you leverage on that, what you are doing is diagnostic. You are not trying to find out exactly what was the problem. Now, when you have found out what was the problem, and you have to leverage on that now to project into the future, good for us to start this project now. It is not good for us now to advertise this project now. It is not good for us now to give out these contract awards now, because we anticipate that there is going to be a major shakeup in the economy, that construction costs may not be viable anymore. So that is what we talk about as predictive. You're not predicting what most likely will happen. Then on the prescriptive now, having predicted it now, you have to prescribe based on trends. Because of this is how it will go. If we go like this, we'll be able to avert this. That is the whole idea about data. But in the past, we have been living our lives without minding. Like, so I heard somebody say something about experience. If your experience does not actually count, if it's not supported by data, I can actually say that what you have is just an opinion. Because you have to find a way to support that experience with data so that somebody else can be able to verify that. So, construction data pipeline. I mentioned to us that when we come to construction, there are a lot of data. Data that we generate come in different forms. We have structured ones, we have the ones that are not structured. All right. But for us to be able to harness this data, there are key things that we need to be watchful about. One, we need what they call database connectors. If you are familiar with a product like a Power Query, you should know that Power Query has almost connectors for almost more than 500 100 different data sources. Okay, when you are taking your data from an Excel format, Power Query has a connector for it. When you're taking your data from PDF format, Power Query has a connector for it. So it has a connector even when you're taking it from SQL, SQL, or any other format of data that you are taking. It has a connector that helps you to be able to bring in the data you are bringing in whatever form it is existing in that place into the domain where you now want to work on your data. All right. Then we have also cloud apps. I will have a demonstration of typical cloud apps that we have today. Courtesy of Speckle. That you can also use. It has connectors, cloud app connectors that will help you to connect directly to your data and be able to harness the data that are found in there. Then we have the API connectors. Those API connectors, the essence of it is that they will help you. On your own, you cannot be able to access the data in their form. So that when it's not bringing in those data for you, you will see it in a form that you want to have it. Then we have our web scraping applications, which is also one of the benefits. I think I learned about this one first from that Microsoft Power Query also. It has the ability to be able to connect to a web page and extract data directly from that web page. We have demonstrated it some time ago in the past. And maybe if time permits us in subsequent presentations, we'll have to ground our quantity surveyors on how to do some of these things. We have document passing plugins, and then we have the ETL plugins. But for us, like when you're looking at the model that we have here, the typical example of this model I have here, on the right side, I have some of the key data regarding those models. All right, particularly these columns that I have selected here. Now, these my columns, geometrically, what I'm seeing is this column, this form and the shape of something I'm seeing. But inside it are these metadata. But the metadata are in a way that it may not make sense to me, and not all of them will be useful to me at every point in time. But I have to find a way. With the help of connectors, I am now able to harness and harvest specifically any aspect of the data that I so desire. the data visualization. When you have been able to connect the data and bring it in and work on the data, transforming it, using what we call ETL, extract, transform, and load. All right. Transformation means that when you are bringing in the data, I think I have a demonstration of something like that. When we are bringing in the data from, say, a sensor, this smoke detector that is here, you know that the smoke detector that we have here has what they call binary logics. It's either it's on or it's off. Like the light that we have here is either it's on or it's off. The air condition is either it's on or off. So binary logic simply means that it's either 0 or 1. 0 for off, 1 for on. So when you're getting a data in binary number, it's easy for you to work with it. All right. But when you're getting another that is a data that is in a different format, that has to be either yes or no. You have to find a way to transform that yes or no into binary. All right. So that your yes becomes your 1 and your no becomes your 0. That way you can now be able to carry out operations on them. So that is part of what we do under your data transformation. You have to transform the data from the source, from the format that it is when you are getting it, into a format that you can now be able to process and aggregate your data. Then lastly, when you have been able to process your data and transform them into a form that you want, the next thing that you need to do is how do you now present this data in such a way that somebody looking at it can now be able to make an insight, because that's the whole essence of data visualization. I have a typical example of it here. This is a model that I created. I was able to bring it into Power BI using one of the Speckle connectors, because there are a lot of other products that I can use to work on them. So many people, a lot of them, some of them are paid for, some other ones are not paid for. But today I will talk about this one that is actually, you can actually get it for free. Talk about Speckle. And I want us to start harvesting and harnessing some of these free opportunities there, so that when you have a project that you now want to do it, they have a flexible package as low as $8 per month, which is flexible enough. You can use it and run your program. When you're done, you can also unsubscribe from the package. So for data visualization, a couple of things that we can do. We can actually present our data in a bar chart, or in a pie chart, in a scatter plot, histogram, heat map, tree map, line chart, whatever form that you want. You have the flexibility of doing that when you are in the environment of the Power BI, because that's one of the benefits of Power BI. In one of the sessions I did on Power BI some time ago, I told them that the BI in Power BI is actually business intelligence. How is your activity, your construction activity, how is it reflecting to give you insight so that you can now have some level of business intelligence to do it better, so that you can now be more profitable than usual. Again, also, part of the other things that we can also do to have greater insights in our data is what we call time analysis. We can do time analysis, we can do correlational analysis, whereby we have to relate things the way they are. This correlation activity can actually carry out using data analysis expression, which is called DAX. That is the language of Power BI. All right. That is how you are now able to run your trends, do all the analysis and calculations that you do in Power BI environment. Then lastly, we can now do pivot analysis and rest of them. Now, understanding, configuring digital twins in construction. The whole essence of what we're doing is to open up a doorway, open our minds into these limitless opportunities of what the trend is looking like. And to let us know that it is no more in fictions, it's no more existing on textbooks. It's already with us here. Dr. yesterday answered a question when somebody asked him, like, how many BIM projects have been executed in Nigeria? You may not know that even the next door project is actually based on BIM until you stumble onto some of the consultants who are working on that project. So don't look down on any of the opportunities of harnessing this knowledge, because your next project might be based on that knowledge, and you will have to pay more because it is not urgent and necessary for you to do it that way. So we need to understand exactly what is digital twin in construction. It's very difficult to demonstrate digital twin, no doubt about it. Because one, you need to have the data and you need to have the model. Digital twin, like I mentioned here, is all about the visual representation of a physical object. There has to be the real thing somewhere. Then there has to be the model also somewhere. Then there has to be connectors that the data that are coming from the real thing are being harnessed and transferred into the digital model. Similarly, also, you cannot be able to send forth output also, or manipulations from the digital model also into the real model. A typical example of this, in like when I try to talk about digital twin, I always tell them that this has been around us for a long time. When you hear something like airplane simulator, that is like a digital twin. Because what they will do is that they will take the black box that they get from the airplane recording and then feed it directly into that simulator. And the simulator will now be able to simulate exactly what transpired based on those data that have been captured in the airplane itself. So this technology has been around us, but for us in construction, it is now coming down to rules for us. And that is why it's necessary that we need to understand exactly what it's all about. How exactly is a digital twin architecture described? On the platform itself, when you're talking about digital twin architecture, you have what they call a common interface. All right. Take, for example, this room where we are now. When this room here are based with IoT sensors that are connected to a model of this room, such that the air conditioner on my left, whenever it picks on, the IoT sensor send forth a signal to the model. And the model itself receives that the air conditioner on my right is now on. It takes note of that information. When the lights are off, it also sends forth a signal, and the model also receives that signal that the lights are off. So that way, I am now able to integrate what exactly is happening here in real time, transferring the same data and information into what is happening here in the data model. All right. Now, for me to be able to see all these things on a platform, there has to be what they call a user interface. Remember, I said some of these electronic devices are using their programming is based on logics. The data they are sending is based on logics. Either it is yes or no. Either it is binary 0 or 1. Or some other ones also have graduated readings also. All right. So there has to be a user interface where somebody has to look at some of these things and now be able to understand exactly what is going on. We have a demonstration of such there. Then on one side of it also, we have talked about the connectivity infrastructure. Remember, I said there are IoT sensors that has to transfer the signals from each device. You can receive the signal from each device and send it across the internet to the model. All right. Then the other model will now receive it and store the device. That's on one side, you have the connectivity infrastructures, and on the other side, you have the analyzing processing. Because all the information that you're receiving from the connectivity, there has to be a way to process it. Remember, I said when you have binary 0 and 1, what does 0 mean? What does 1 mean? So there has to be a way to process that 0 to mean something, process the 1 to mean something. Or when you are having the Boolean yes or no, when you receive a yes signal, okay, you come to the switch on the model, switch on. When you say switch on the model, what does that switch on interpret on the model, on the actual equipment itself, the physical equipment itself? So it has to find a way to transfer the on that you have placed on the model, transfer it again to be able to communicate to the equipment so that the equipment will power on because you have powered it on. That way you have that processing back and forth. Then on the connectivity aspect, we'll talk about the physical asset itself. I mentioned it. The physical equipment itself, it has to be connected to a virtual asset. And sometimes what you use to connect them are either sensors or IoT devices that are able to transfer and transmit those readings from this physical assets to the other one. Then some of the things that you can actually connect to those ones that you can have our plants, like the whole of this facility, can be connected as a digital model, whereby we have the model of everything about this facility somewhere existing, and then we now come in and put sensors on every of the hardware that we have on this facility, connecting them together that they're able to relate with each other. Then on the virtual model, we have our BIM model. It's very important. Without the BIM model itself, we have no virtual representation of the actual thing. Then we'll now talk about the common data environment, because sometimes you might need to transfer these informations. Like I mentioned to us, I have an example of Speckle that I mentioned to us today. So there can be a way that you can relate some of these information through that CDE environment, common data environment, that you're not able to relate and communicate directly also there. Then on the data processing side, we're now able to do what they call scenario testing. We can do predictive maintenance, can do system optimization. Like we discovered that when our systems, like I don't know, that I was told, if you use ceiling fan sometime during the heat weather, it seems as if it's just blowing heat. All right. So if you put ceiling fan in high during the heat weather, it's just blowing you heat. But when you put it on low during the heat weather, you discover that you have more cool air circulating than just forcing down the same hot air that it has taken up. That way, it gives you that you are now able to optimize that system to work better and work best for you. So a typical example of digital twin. We have digital twin like about 5 of them. We can have what they call a component twin. A component twin means when you have a particular component in a plant or a system that is now has a copy of it somewhere, a virtual copy of it somewhere, that is a component twin. Then when you have more components connected together, relating together as one, operating as one, that is what we call an asset twin. All right. When you have more assets, many assets working together to form a system, that is what you have now as a system twin. Then when you have different systems working together, you have your air conditioning system, you have your lighting system, you have your maybe plumbing system working together, all of them integrated as one. That is what you have as a process twin. All right. But part of the things that we can actually achieve using digital twin is that it can help us to optimize the assets that we are talking about. Talking about the asset working more efficiently, like I mentioned the example of the ceiling fan, for example. Then it can also help us to have an asset performance monitoring. Now we have an effective way of monitoring what exactly that system is doing. All right. Because some equipment is actually very difficult to monitor them physically. Either you may not be able to actually carry out a good reading of them, or you may not have the access to evaluate what exactly is happening in your system. A typical example of such is in your vehicles. If you have modern vehicles these days, you have what they call check engine lights. That is a typical example of your predictive maintenance ability of that car that is built in there. Then we'll talk about scenario simulation. I mentioned it when I talked about the airplane simulator. Digital twin process. Now, if you want to create a digital twin process, how do you set it up? One of the setup process will be that there has to be, of course, there has to be the data source. And the data source has to be integrated into the model, right? Then we have to talk about the IoT sensors. You have to deploy the IoT sensors. And something that is very important to note when you are talking about IoT sensors is that what kind of IoT sensors are you looking at for? What are they going to be doing for you? That's the sensor applications. What are they going to be doing for you? Is it for heat? Is it for cold temperature? Or is it for light sensitivity? Or whatever it is that you want to be. So you have to be careful in your selection of the IoT sensors because you need to choose the one that will do exactly what you want it to do. Then you talk about the calibrations. I mentioned something about binary and the other one about Boolean. There are sensors that only give you readings in Boolean. There are others too that give you readings in the binary. Binary in the sense that it has to be 1 or 0. Boolean in the sense that it has to be yes or no, up or down. All right? So when you have to choose this one, then I'll talk about the beam model itself. The beam model itself has to be harnessed in such a way that you pick the data that are very important to you. Hopefully, in the course of this training, we'll look at some of the beam model. I hope we'll have enough time to actually explain the beam model and have more insights on that. Then we now talk lastly about the dashboard. That dashboard is very important, which is why I keep talking to us about the need for us to learn data analytics. You must not know everything. You must not be a statistician to do data analytics. All you need to know is know the core basics. What relates to what you're doing? How important is this aspect relative to you? All right. So in that, we'll look at specific views, customizable widgets, interactive visualization components, and the rest of them. So how does decision making, how does digital twin support our decision making? How does it support these things that we're talking about? One, I said, if you have an experience and you have no data to support it, what you just have is an opinion. Because someone else who does not have an experience but has the data to support what he has something substantial. So the data that you are generating, the processing that you are processing there has to be a way that you should be able to communicate decision. It should give you an insight that will help you to make good decisions. That is what this dashboard is all about. All right. Then, when we come down to the dashboard, there are a couple of things that are very important for us to look. We need to focus on the visualizations because the choice of your visualization actually helps you to communicate better. There are places when you're talking about trends, one of the best things to use and present trends is line charts. Because line will always indicate the relations, how it is going up and coming down. So line charts become very useful for you whenever you're talking about trends. Similarly also, there has to be a way that you have to communicate indicators. Alert system, there has to be alert system, something that will let you know that, okay, this thing has come on. All right? Like the typical example I mentioned to us about in a car dashboard, that check engine light that keeps blinking is an alarm system. It keeps telling you that something is going wrong here. You need to go and check engine. You need to go and check your engine. That is an alarm system, that an indicator that keeps guiding your mind that this is what needs to be done. Then we'll talk about key performance index. How are we doing? The metrics are very important. What is your focus? Are you focusing on cost? Are you focusing on time? Are you focusing on what? Whatever is your area that you want to focus more on. Like we're working on something like an IoT for a typical example, we start with it for air conditioning system. What are the key things that we may need to focus on? We may need to focus on the temperature. All right? Focus on something like maybe the humidity. So when the temperature is so low, we know that the air condition is almost freezing everybody inside the house. When temperature is so high, we know that the air conditioner is not performing to efficient. We may need to either lower the temperature so that it can be able to bring down the temperature of the house to what we call maybe room temperature, whatever it is. Then we can now be able to carry out scenario modeling, load analysis. Okay, if we add this to this scenario, what does it give us? These are some of the other things that you need to know small little data analytics. How you can now be able to use DAX, data analysis expression, to be able to prepare and project your scenarios. All right? Then we'll now talk about decision frameworks. How are you able to utilize these informations and make insightful decisions? If we want to implement success factor for our digital twin, what are the things that we may need? One, part of the challenge that we need to overcome is our technology implementation strategy. On the other side, we have to find a way to measure progresses in our optimization. Okay? If you're implementing technology challenges that we have, what are the systems that we have? How many of us, how many of our organizations, how many of our staffs are in tune with this system? Are they able to now to learn? What time period do we have to learn this system? Take, for example, you have a project and then the client says that this project has to be based on VIM. Between the time when you sign the contract agreement and the time when you're going to deploy on site, do you have enough room time to be able to learn through the curves of learning the application so that you can now be able to deploy it? Or would you prefer to be getting ready gradually over time so that when eventually you now come to that bus stop of deploying or on a project that is based on that technology, you will have the ability to be able to implement it, right? Then organizational readiness, which is the aspect I mentioned alongside with the technology. Are you ready to adopt that technology? How prepared are you to launch on? Then change management strategy. What are the possible strategies that you have? Because I am a firm believer in the fact that you don't change the winning thing, but you find a way to integrate the new thing into the old. That way you grow. And with time, when you discover that the old is no more useful to you, you can let it go, let it slide. All right? Then on the other aspect of it, we have to find a way to measure some of our progresses and performances. We have to create key performance indicators that will show us how we are doing well. That will show us whether we are achieving our intentions and purpose, whether we are progressing actually in what we are learning. All right? If you carry the whole of your staff now and go and train them on BRM, how do you evaluate them if you don't create key indicators that will help you to evaluate their performance? How do you rate them, their progression in that new knowledge that they have learned? Then there has to be continuous improvement. It is very important. All right? I remember a story that was told of somebody, just to keep a staff busy, he gave me a dictionary, said, go through this dictionary and bring out every strange word that he has not heard before. You know, it can be a daunting task. You might think you have known all the words, but then when you open the dictionary, you discover that there are some words that sound like your village name. So there has to be room for that continuous learning. Let them continue to explore and continue to advance in their technology, in their what they are doing. Now, for me to conclude, we now know very well that data analytics is very important. And when we have to combine it with digital twin, it helps us to unlock a whole new level of visibility in our operation. At the moment now, remember there was a time when everybody was talking about CAD. Today, nobody's talking CAD. Everybody is now talking the language of BIM. But because the foundation is proactive, that is why the foundation is being one step ahead. It is going beyond the threshold of telling you about BIM. It's also telling you about digital twin. Because when you come to the threshold of the BIM, the next one you have to encounter is digital twin. So that is why we are talking about it, because it will help you to unlock a whole lot of visibility and opportunities that will help you to position the organization for the next frontiers. Secondly, it also helps us to actually be able to change some certain things that will be useful to us. Help us to gauge our success, and we need to change and improve in our abilities. Because the very moment you allow change to overtake you so much, you discover you become obsolete. Obsolete, that's the destination. So you have to find a way to make sure that you keep on investing. Let the organization continue to invest in what is relevant and what is useful, so that they will continue to make progress. But you, as a quantity surveyor who is on this class today, data analytics helps you to bring in that major edge in your construction management abilities. It will help to position you so that you can now have a strategic opportunity in any project that you find yourself in. I have it that if you apply these principles as a construction professional, you will now be able to deliver more efficiently. You'll not be able to predict more. Like now, I said some time ago that a couple of months ago, before this dollar price was able to stagnate somehow, anybody who is bidding a project or anybody who is preparing a bill of quantity is actually speculating, because the price volatility was so much that it was all very concerning to anybody. But for some time now, the dollar has been hovering around 151,600, which is predictable enough. So we can still go ahead. But for people who have this data analytics ability, for them, that fluctuation was not much of a concern, because they know a way they can be able to. When you follow the trends, you'll be able to see a pattern. That is why one wise man said that data number does not lie. It cannot deceive you. It will always point you in the right direction. So I take us now into the environment where I want us to focus more of our attention today, so that we can look at some of these things that we have been talking about. Let it not be that we are just discussing about things that are not obtainable in our environment. Project. No, you don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, to our online audience, please bear with us. We're just having a brief technical glitch, which will be fixed shortly. QS Showcase so far has kept us abreast with the growing technologies in the quantity surveying space, BIM, AI integration, digital twins, and why it is relevant for today as a quantity surveying professional. I cannot begin to overemphasize the need for these things. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have your notes, your biros, your pens, your jotters, and your laptops ready to make notes. Take notes regarding everything that is being taught regarding twin technologies. It's been a wonderful, insightful sessions. I am getting free of charge. And ladies and gentlemen, let's all remember that this program is proudly sponsored by the Breaker Fund UK, that is currently funding and supervising this particular learning capacity building program being hosted by the NIQS Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, we will have the floor shortly by QS Chijoke. QS Chijoke, are you ready for us, please? Okay, not yet. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We have before us a diagram of a building. I think this is a factory, and we can see that it is a software. It is a digital twin of an actual structure that is being displayed by the facilitator of this particular program. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back shortly. We're just having a little technical glitch. Please bear with us.
No, that's a good.
All right, sorry about that.
QSCJ, are you ready for us?
Yes, I'm back here.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. QSCJ, you have the floor. Go ahead.
All right, what we have here now is a typical model of a BIM model. Now, on a first look, what you see seems like it's just an ordinary model. But things start to happen when I select any object that I see here. For example, when I select this staircase that I see here, it begins to give me, I open up my properties. I now see that I have lots and lots of items, informations, like I mentioned before. These informations might be useful to you now, or may not be useful to you now, all right? But there has to be a way that you'll be able to harvest all these layers and layers of information that have been structured in the BIM model, so that you can now be able to take the ones that are useful to you and work on them as you desire. As a quantity surveyor, it is important that you understand the data connectors that I mentioned to you about, because it's not every data type that you have here you can be able to take away. There has to be relevant data connectors that you have to use to be able to extract this information. As it is now, there is no interface that I can use to export all this information to Excel. There is no such that exists. There are rather dedicated data connectors that can go into this model and pick specific aspects of this data model. All right? Another thing is this that is also important for us to note. In this model that we're looking at, I am now able to say, okay, I am able to say, okay, let me go ahead and show my look at this model properly. Now this is the full model that I have. I can also say, okay, let me x-ray other aspects of it to be able to have a visual confirmation that everything is in order the way it's supposed to be. That is when I will need to enable my sectioning. That way, I am now cutting through a section. But I'm not restricted to this section alone. I can actually align my section to any perspective that I desire. Click my move. I can pick it and say, look, let me push it down further to a section that will show me what is going on inside. For some obvious reasons, this one is not playing ball with me, but let me leave it and go to another one. Step is freezing. My system is freezing up.
It won't be charged.
Pardon?
The community won't be charged. It's okay. Let's see.
The Zoom that is hanging. The Zoom that is hanging.
It's not okay, so it's not happening. No,
I want to exit this.
Yes, it's here in terms.
Huh?
Maybe it's here in terms.
I'm getting the internet.
Can I share it from here?
Can you share your slides from me?
That's
No,
not.
okay, it's not getting the.
Don't worry, let me. It happens with technology anyway. You have to make room for this because you have no control.
That's
It-
why
it
you have to be
on-
knowledgeable.
Yeah.
When
It
the
takes
human
on its
tells you, the human brain comes in.
Go to the basis. Go back to the basis.
Yes. So I have something I have up here. Here for my.
Ladies and gentlemen, please bear with us. As you are well aware, sometimes these machines we call computers and laptops tend to have a little glitch every now and then, which is of no fault of anyone. I believe the software that is being used to actually display some of this digital twin projects that we're actually looking at on our screen are quite heavy. So please bear with us shortly and we will be back with you. As you can see, the ICT guys are there on ground to sort out this particular issue, and we will continue on with the presentation shortly. QS Studio, are you ready for us, please?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead. You have the floor, please.
Yeah. Okay. You can see my screen now. Yes, earlier I mentioned to us that this is a platform that we can take advantage of to continue to shape and explore our knowledge in this newfound technology advancements that we're talking about today. And that platform is Speckle. All right? The website, maybe after now you can check it out. The website is speckle.systems. www.speckle.systems. When you go there, you can register for a free version, be able to create for yourself what I have here. Now, what I did differently, which I am not showing you here, is because I don't want this system to hang further, is I went into my Revit authoring tool. Example, Orion, maybe Revit, and then I exported these models that I have here with me. And for me, when you export it out now, inside the Revit application, they have what they call Speckle connectors. Now, what Speckle connectors does for you is that when you download the Speckle connector for Revit and install it in your system, it goes to create a tab in Revit environment so that when you open your Revit, you cannot be able to see that Speckle connector. Just click on the connector and then be able to extract any aspect of your model and export it out. Why would you want to do that? Because you're transferring that model from a geometrical environment into a common environment, Power BI in this case, where you might need to be working on that model further. But when you do that in Speckle, it first of all uploads it into your account, which is what I have here. And a couple of things I can do in this my account. I can be working on a project and might have my team scattered all over here. If we have a Speckle account to monitor our project for BIM, that means that all our team, the architect, the structural engineer, the M&E, and rest of them, everybody will be publishing their models up into this very platform, into this project. And that way we will now be able to collaborate, because the whole essence of BIM technology, one of the big sell points for BIM is the aspect of collaboration, right? It means that different people at different places can now be able to work on the same thing. You have one source of truth, all right? So if we have it here, every change that anybody makes, maybe the architect makes a change, he communicates it. All he needs is just send it forth, upload it, publish it, rather, that's the language. He publishes it here. And for me, it will notify me that a new version has been published. When I receive a new version, all I need to do is either click accept, and it will replace the old version of what I have already in my model. But for us, our main focus here is on, let us preview what the model looks like in this environment. So I'm going to have an aggregation of all the models. So to take a little while, of all the models that I have in this application. Now, based on the speed of the internet, it might take a little while. Okay, it's almost done. Waiting for the last aspect, and the last aspect will now come in. Okay, so this is typical example of that model that I have. For people that know me, I've been using this model since 2019 when I created it. But I've refined it over time to be able to communicate exactly the intentions and purpose that I have. So this is the model that I'm talking about here. Now in this model, this is not just one single model. Rather, it's called a federated model. A federated model is a combination of different models together to form a single image. All right. Now, if I select any one of them, that one is highlighted in blue. At the moment I'm selecting the architectural, that's why you see the architectural. And if I want to see only the architectural, I can always go and filter out every other one, and only the architectural will be showing. And how do I know it's architectural? If I look closely, I don't see the slab. What I'm seeing here is this ceiling. Okay, but maybe I'm not sure exactly what it is that I'm looking at. When I click this thing, a slide bar opens up for me on the side. Now that slide bar now tells me that what I'm actually looking at is the ceiling. And it goes further to tell me the kind of ceiling that it is. Remember I said that these are layers and layers of metadata or informations, which if you don't know some of these things that we're talking about today, you may not be able to harness and harvest exactly the aspect of the data that you want to harvest. All right? So when you look at it through, there are so many things that make sense to you. One, it has a unit, and the unit is what? Millimeter. Furthermore, it goes further to tell you that, okay, this is the element ID. You might not have direct need for element ID, because element ID is talking about each individual occurrence of that item. All right? This element is different from this other element. When I choose this other one now, the ID will be different. Okay? So that's why you need to understand there are some information that you have in the BIM model that may be most useful to you, and there are also some other ones too that may not be useful. Now I have this BIM model. Let me remove the filter so that we can see all of them again together. Now I remove all the filter. I can say, okay, let me go further to look at my structural only. Now this is what the structural model looks like exactly. Okay, this one is, let me off the other one so that we'll see only the structural model. Now we are looking at, this is what the structural model looks like. Okay, but I can see some small, something like dots. Those are the electrical model. Those are the electrical model. If I pick this electrical now, all of them are now highlighted in blue. All right? If I don't want to see any aspect of them also, I can still go ahead and off them and they'll all be off. Now, all I have in this place now is my structural model. I can look at this model and x-ray it anyhow. Pick any aspect of it, query it, and discover that all my floors are named as floor. So when I am now using my data connector and I want to pull out only floors, I should be targeting this name, floor. When I say floor, it will not leave floor and go and pick roof for me. That is the whole essence of trying to understand the structure of the data that you have in your BIM model, because it will save you a lot of headache. Take it from me. Oftentimes, when some of these professionals are modeling their BIMs, except where there is a proper BIM execution plan, right, that will guide everybody and tell them, okay, this is the aspect that we are implementing on this project, and this is how we have to document everything. You might find out that they may have different naming conventions. Somebody may call it block wall 225. Another person may call it 225 by 225 by 400, 450 block wall, thereby conflicting you. So if you're using only 225 to search for it, you might not catch it, because you're not using the full naming convention that covers the class of everything that you're looking for. So that is why it's important that you, first of all, understand the structure of information in your BIM model. All right? Now, when you have understood the structure of information in your BIM model, from this spectral perspective, one of the things that I can actually now do is now, I can now come to my Spectre and say, okay, I want to share out these information. I want to take them away from this environment into my Power BI environment. Remember, I said, there is no connection between the Power BI environment, because what Power BI is usually used is for data analytics. And we're talking about aggregated data. All right? So you may not be able to take up these things, except you have to find a way to pick the information that are useful to you. But you can actually export everything out into Power BI. That way, you now focus only the ones that are very important for you. So when I want to export it out, Speckle makes it so easy for you to use. All you need to do is just, you see this advert, this thing you're seeing here, this website, copy this website. That is what you need to do. Copy the website, because you have installed the Power BI Connect, because you have Power BI installed in your application, in your computer, and you have Speckle installed in your computer, and you have a Power BI connector installed in your computer, and you have Speckle connector installed in your computer. All you need is just copy this thing and go over into Power BI environment. So that's what we'll now do. Or a second way you can also do is from this share. When you click share, you will see here, see copy ID or copy link. You just choose your copy link. When I copy link, I will now go over to my Power BI. Now I have copied the link. Yes. Part of the things I did, let me pick a typical example of how we can do that, so that before I continue from here. What I want to do is I want to pick that model that we had. I will copy the link. I have copied the link. I will now go over to my Power BI. Inside my Power BI, assuming I am opening a new file, I am installing a new file. I open a new file. All right. It takes some little while. Well, part of the things that I said I did earlier before now, once you register for that Speckle account, which I mentioned to you, you can register a free account. Once you register for a free account, the only limitation with the free account is that, one, you can only use one project. And that project can only be able to entertain only 5 models, which I have example of. All the models I have here is just 5 of them. So I have already reached the limit of what I can use. But you can even use it for trials until you get better. When you have a project that you need to pay for it, you can now leverage on it, the platform, to be able to execute your project. So I open my Power BI for the first time. Remember, I've copied the link. I come into my Power BI. I mentioned something about connectors. Without that connector, it will not be able to connect this data and be able to have a data exchange. There has to be a handshake, so that when you are saying word, this application also understands that what you're referring to is word. All right. So in this place now, I come and click on my get data. Oh, sorry. I am sharing a different. Sorry. Let me get back. From this point now, all I need to just come to here, click this one, data source. I can click it from this data source. I can also pick it from this get data. Either way, whichever one I do, I will always come back to this very point where I have here. So all I need is use there that look for speckle. Because I have a speckle connector. I have a speckle connector already installed for Power BI. I click speckle and click connect. It will now help me to open up and give me this information. I say continue. The next one, it will now open up for me and give me a place where I can now type in that address that I've copied. This is this address where I copied it. I will now click next. It takes some seconds, and then it locks me into an environment, Power BI environment. Internet. The internet. So let me jump it from there to the other one that I've already copied because the internet is not allowing me to get through. Now, what I did differently was that from that point where it connected to my data source, it brought me into what is called, because I will choose transform query. Transform. It will bring me into what is called Power Query. And this is the typical environment where it will land me in Power Query. I'm sharing my entire screen because yet is not seeing this. I'm not seeing this kind of post. So this is a typical environment of Power Query. Remember the model that we exported from Speckle. This is the whole of that model that we exported to Speckle. All of them reduced into data. All reduced into data. But the catch here is that even the models, the shapes and everything, the forms, but I'm not seeing them. But yet they are also contained in this place. If you look here, we have beyond these ones that we have here, beyond these 1, 2, 3 that we have here, I have the one that says data column, and the other one that says property. All right. Then I went further to create another one that is called source model. Because all those my models came from different sources. I have an electrical model, I have a plumbing model, I have a structural model, and an architectural model. All of them, I have to find a way to find them. Then I will now go through to extract the relevant information that are useful to me. That is what I have just done here. All this process is all about extracting the relevant information that is useful to me. When I have gotten the right information that is useful to me, I am now ready to move from this environment, Power Query environment, into my Power BI environment. What I did in Power Query is to be able to transform my data in a form that will be most useful to me. All right? That is why, alongside with this knowledge, I encourage us to also take our time, do a course in Power Query. Because the foundation of your advanced data analytics now is based on Power Query ability. You might not be able to do much in Power BI if you don't understand Power Query. And you don't have to be an expert in Power Query for you to be able to leverage on that. So I encourage us to do that while we're waiting for further understanding. So the form of data that I have changed it now from what it was before into this structure. Now I am looking at levels. I have been able to extract levels from that model, the data that I got. I have been able to extract the name of each and every element that I have. I've also been able to extract even volumes. I've been able to extract the data model lengths, the task ID. All right. Now, task ID is very important for me because when you have a data model, it is important that you create what is called a project parameter that you can use to reference every aspect of that thing. When I say wall and I'm looking at wall, there should be something that wall communicates to me. Wall should mean something to me. The person that modeled the wall may have modeled it as wall without distinguishing it. But for me, who is not going to work on the model, I have to find a way to distinguish my wall. That is where project parameters now become very, very important. You have to define your project parameters. So for me, I have some project parameters that I've already defined here, which you will see something like L1695 or whatever it is, that is the number. I structured it and I was able to present it this way. So now I can now move us back into Power BI environment and show us exactly what we are doing there. So when you are closing, you come to your home again and click close and apply. When you click close and apply, the application will take some seconds to process and load back the data from the source. And as I'm talking to you now, whatever changes that the architect makes on that data that is in the cloud, in my Speckle account, whatever changes that they make there will automatically reflect in this model that I have here. I don't have to do much again. All I need to just do is refresh my account and it will come through again. So I have the model now. Hopefully, this one will not lie. I have the model extracted, but my focus on this model, because of the nature of what we're talking about, I focus more on the structures, MEP, that we have on this model. So typically, I created 3 aspects of that model. I created one that will look at the model itself. Now, look, it's not going to connect to the cloud and bring that information back. I created one that gives me only the model itself, talking about my MEP, talking about structures. Okay? If you look closely, you discover that this color difference is there. All my electricals have one color. All my HVAC have one color. And all my structures have one color. I can be able to extract and look and extract this information any way that I want it. Similarly, if I want to narrow down or filter out other aspects, maybe I want to see only my HVAC, I can come down here and click on my HVAC. And Power BI has this interactive aspect of it, that when you click one thing, it shows you the relationship it has with other aspects. What I just did here, I come and click my HVAC, and it's showing me the relationship it has with my model. So only my HVAC models are the things that are now being displayed. Similarly, if I want to show the HVAC alongside with the structures, I hold my control key and select also the structure alongside with this one. And the image will also refresh. The image will refresh and show me the same thing. All right? All I am seeing here is only my HVAC with the exclusion of my electricals. So I can disable all of that. This may not be, looking at them by model may not be the only perspective I want to create for my model. I might look at them also by elements. So I have also gone further to create a grouping of an element. Now, this is not exhaustive according to what is contained in the model, but to an extent, is a reflection of what we're talking about here. So in this model that I have here, I can always focus on any of these items. I've segregated them according to their models. I may want to look at only the floors. I just come there and choose only floors. When I choose only floors will be visible in my model. The other aspects will now be removed out so that I can be seeing only my models. All right? This is all the floors that I have on this model. Similarly, if I want to combine it and look at only the dots, maybe the air conditioned dots that I have, I can pick all the air conditioned dots together. Now I am looking at all the air conditioned connections, the way they are structured. Okay, let me remove the exception of the floor. I'm looking at the air conditioned dots, the way they are now structured. I am seeing everything the way it is. And it can be able to communicate to me and tell me, okay, this is how this one is connected. If I have a loop, something that is not connecting very well, or any aspect of this model that is running where it's not supposed to, maybe you have your dots passing through where you're supposed to have your beam. All right? You know that is a structural violation. So you may not want that to happen. So this will also tell you that it has to be changed immediately. But in a Speckle environment, we are able to highlight that incident immediately, flag it up immediately, and report it that this is a violation. And a typical of such issue I have is what I have here highlighted. These are issues that I have highlighted. All you need is just pick any aspect of the model that you don't want, and you have this cross item here, you can click on it and say, okay, this is an issue. Raise the issue, whatever is the concern. Once you click reposition and click it OK, it takes some seconds and that issue is highlighted. So that all the members in your team can always be able to access this issue. And until whenever this issue is solved, you can always click the issue and say that it has been resolved. The issues have been resolved. When I click that one, the issue goes out. That means it has been resolved. But it keeps also a trail of this conversation. All right. You cannot be able to trace issues that were alerted and how they were resolved accordingly, including the persons that actually resolved some of those issues. So, as regards to digital twin, how is this useful to us? Remember, I mentioned to us that digital twin, oftentimes, some of the IoT devices will be giving us information in a form that we may not understand them. A typical example of such is what I have here. This is a reading from an IoT device. That is, I harvested this information from Cargo. Cargo is a domain. It's a domain for data. It's a warehouse of data of all sorts. Any kind of data that you're looking for, go to Cargo, cargo.com, the way you have Google. But this time around, K-A-G-G-L-E, cargo.com. You'll be able to access any aspect of data, but they require you to register an account with them so that you can be able to harvest the data. Even also on your own part, if you want to share any aspect of your data that you have gathered over time, so that people can be able to contribute to your data and be able to make it rich. You can also post your data there. So I harvested this data that somebody captured from IoT devices. Now, on this first aspect, which I have is TS, that is the time series itself. That's what the TS actually stands for. Then I have the device ID. Then I have the CO2, humidity, light, LPG, motion, smoke, and temperature. All right. These are different aspects of the readings that the device is setting out. Remember, I mentioned to us that some of the devices, they are only giving you out the information in binary. Some of them are giving you also in Boolean. Now I have this light device giving me information. It's either it's false or true. Other ones may be giving you yes or no. All right. But when you receive this information out now, maybe your device have not exported it out to you. Through your connector, you have been able to harvest this information in your database. How do you now interpret this thing? One thing that's very, very important to recognize here is that when you look at this timestamp here, I doubt if any of us understand this kind of timestamp. This is a Unis epoch timestamp. It is recorded in seconds. But the second starts from, I think the description of it started from 1970. 1st January 1970. The first second of 1st January 1970. That is when the timestamp started counting. Another example of such is that when you open your Excel, for example, you discover that your Excel starts counting from 1900. All right? But this Unix epoch started from 1970. So you need to have that background understanding for you to be able to harvest information. And if you don't understand these things, the communication logics or some of these IoTs, you may not be able to interpret and harvest exactly the information that they are sending out. That is why I have to show us a typical example of this output. This is the information that we harvested from a data IoT. Now, let us go to how we are able to transform this information to make sense for us. I don't know if we have any question at this point before so that if I have any question, let me attend to it while I'm taking this.
Ladies and gentlemen, to our online participants, please feel free to ask your questions. You can either type it as a chat, type it in the chat function of your Zoom app on your laptop or your phone, or for those physically present in the hall attending the physical session, feel free to raise your hand and just ask your questions regarding the particular topic that has been discussed so far. Thank you. QSCJ, are you ready for us, please?
Yes, I am.
You have the floor. Thank you.
Is it not there? I'm seeing.
No, they're giving thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay. Now, that same reading that I have,
Okay. Someone just...
This one top. Any questions? Any questions?
I don't buy.
Somebody's putting love here, boss.
You're gone.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my screen to refresh.
Okay.
All right. So I am back to where we started off. Remember, I said there has to be a way. You have to understand to know how to transform the data that you have gathered. It is not enough that you have been able to amass all this information. You have to find a way to understand the data so that you can harvest it and be able to make insightful decisions about them. If you look here, this is the same information that we had from that environment. That the same info. Sorry, the system is lagging.
I think you need to delete some things.
Modern system.
This is model is very loaded, but it's high specification anyway. I don't know why it's lagging. Maybe the internet connectivity. I don't know.
Beauty Foundation.
Yes, sir.
I hope you are enjoying the ambience of this place.
Thanks for that, but to come for someone like this beautiful.
Huh?
We're trying to market it for any.
Please market it.
I'm sure after this I use others so I want to
It's
utilize
a good learning environment.
Yes, very, very fun.
It's a very good learning environment.
All right. So this is the information that we exported out. This is what was that same information that we saw in our Excel is the same information we're looking at here. Now, one of the things I did differently when I came into this environment was that if you look here, those headers that I had, the TS, the device ID, and the rest of them, they came in here as a row, all right? In Power Query now, because this, even though I'm in Power BI, Power BI has a backdoor into Power Query, all right? And I've used that backdoor to come into Power Query so that I can be able to shape my data, transform it in a structure and in a way that I can be able to work on them. Now, one of the things I did was I promoted these headers. This first row, I moved them to become a header. Okay, they have become a header. The next thing I did was I started transforming different aspects of this information. I changed type. When you move it to become a header, see, even though I am having this place as 1, 2, 3, this is time numbers, but the data type is being recognized as text. All right. So the next thing I did was to convert it into a type. I did a change type. Right? But the aspect I wanted to focus more attention on is on when I added a data, I changed, was when I now moved this time series into something else that I needed it to be. I used a formula in Excel, in Power Query rather, that understood, remember what I told you about it earlier. I said, if I want to convert this thing into time series, that it will be able to give me the time in present day, all right? One of the things I can do is I can always come down to my add column, all right? We're not teaching Power Query here, but I just have to let us understand what we did at the back door. Now I come here and say, okay, I want you to do a custom column for me. It's asking me, because Power Query has a way, once it has sequenced steps ahead of you, for you to be able to bring in any other information in between, you have to add it as a step. All right? I will temporarily add this step. I say, yes, insert it as a step. Now, in Power Query, it has this, it will open up this place now. So I will now call this one. I want to call it date time. For my date time, what do I want to do? I want to pick up hash dates time. Remember, I said it's 1970, comma, 1st of January, comma, because I am using a Power Query function called datetime. So it's now expecting me to provide the time aspect of that date that I just provided. All right. So the time aspect of that date is from 0, 0, 0. That is the time aspect of it. All right. I close. Now I have to bring in this time series, which is in seconds. Now the time series that I have in seconds is you use duration. Duration is a Power Query function also that you need to know about. Start from 0, 0, 0, hash TS. Once I have done that, the Power Query on the last part here will tell me that there is no error, no syntax error found. Or once I do that now, I say, okay, it will go ahead and create that time series for me. Okay, I think I missed out something there. I missed out something on this point. But what it's supposed to do for me is we create the dates and attach it alongside with the time. All right? So that when you're looking at the date, you're not only seeing the date, you're seeing the actual time when the event took place on that very day. All right? So I will go ahead and also remove this thing which I have done because I've done it somewhere else. I have it in another application that is open, but I just need to show us one of the things that we did before we got to where we are. So let me open that one where I have it on sensor metric. This is still the same thing that I had in the other place. Now, this is where I did that step that brought that time. Look at the step that I brought that time. Look at the time that we have now. We have the time. And with that time now, we're able to break it into dates. All right? So that even though we are talking about 12th of July 2020, we now know exactly the time when that event took place by 12th of July 2020. But the whole essence of what this is to move it back into Power Query environment and be able to, into Power BI environment and be able to look at the data so that it can make sense for us. All right? So the Power BI environment that we are in is, let me open it up. This is a typical example of the Power BI environment where we are now. All those data that you see that we are looking at in yes or no answer, this is the form that they have come. All right? Remember I said the choice of the visualization that you have to choose to present your data is a function of your understanding of the information that you want to communicate. If you are communicating time series, I remember I said, it is always best for you to represent time series with a line chart because it will always be able to show the differences in terms of time variations and rest of it. Another beautiful thing about time series is that when you present it like this example of what I have here present now, I am presenting this data and I am looking at the similarity that exists between my my CO2 and my smoke and my gas. All of them seem to have the same shape. Are you seeing it? What does that mean? It simply means that either all of these IoT devices are in the same environment, that the activity of one is influencing the activity of the other. All right? Example, if you're in an environment whereby the air conditioning system is constructed or arranged in such a way that when it senses a rise in temperature, the cooling temperature of the air conditioner will come down more. All right? Sorry? So it simply means that when we have more people in the room, the air condition cooling temperature will come down more so that the place will also normalize. When we have few people in the room emitting heat, the cooling temperature will go up small so that the air conditioner will not be working at optimal. All right? So this will show us that relationship. Now, when you pick any of these aspects, it will reflect. That is the beauty of Power BI. It has an interactive connection with everything in the visualization. And it can even go beyond just the visualization and give you interactions with other aspects of the model that you're looking at. That's the same thing that we have with what we are talking about before. The model that we are looking at before. All right? When we look at this model, when I come to this other aspect, when I come to page 1, which is supposed to give me something closer to what we are talking about, I have the same model, But this time around, I've gone ahead to connect with other metrics, other aspects of the data that have been harvested from the model. Now, when I look at this data, which aspect of this data do I prefer? Where do I want to call attention on? Just for demonstration purpose, I was able to harvest only. We have the complete activities. We have the total number of items that are connected in this model. We have about 4,923 items. And then we have about 43 task ID or IDs that are created. All right. When I choose any of these, let me say I choose air terminals, for example. If I choose air terminals, all the visuals will update to reflect exactly the air terminal, including the model itself. The model has now updated to show me only the air terminal itself. All right. So then it tells me that I have about 224 air terminals, items that are classified as air terminal. Then in all, they have about 7 items. Now the 7 item is coming from the different levels because I have 7 levels, my ground floor and 6 floors above, right? Then I can always be able to interact and move to other aspects of this my visualization. That way the application will also update. Now I am looking at only the model itself, the structural model, with the exception of any other aspect of it. All the other aspects have been removed. So you can always leverage on these visualizations to show any aspect of your data that you are so interested in. It doesn't matter. No. It doesn't matter what your data is actually saying to you. All you need to focus more on is what you require to communicate. Even though I have volumes and volumes of data stored up in this model, but I've gone into it to only select only the ones that I think that are relevant to me. Similarly, also, I can be able to connect that IoT data that I have generated from that external environment. I can be able to connect it and bring it into this environment and be able to connect it to each and every one of the items that I have already created here. All you need to do is that you have to be very conscious of what you're doing. Remember, I mentioned it is important for you to create a project parameter. With project parameter, you're not able to connect all of them without wasting most of your times. All right? But it's important that you have a very good sound base and background in Power Query. So, Mr. President, sir, let's say you were saying something about a webinar that you have in mind to do. I want to also suggest that as part of the things that will be done in that webinar, that we also do Power Query on a large scale for quantity surveyors, because that is the foundation of some of these data analytics that we're talking about. Except when you want to work outside the environment of the most commonest data analytics tool, which is Excel itself. But if you have to use Excel, which I am sure almost 80 or 70% of us are still using, the best catch that will catch all of them together is Power Query.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, with this understanding, we are now able to move the data from the common BIM authoring environment where we have, like we have seen it when we talked about Speckle, when we showed the demonstration in Navisworks, or part of it in Revit. We have moved it out from that domain into the domain where we're not going to carry out our data analysis. And from here, depending on what is your intention, what information that you want to communicate, what insight you want to get from your model, you can now be able to go ahead and do as much as you want. But I know very well that this is a continuous conversation. It doesn't end here. Because in just one single city, we'll not be able to cover everything that is expected to get us to speed on where the world is today. But nonetheless, the pace has been set. And I hope that we'll continue on this trajectory. So I want to use this opportunity to, if we have the time, to show us how we can be able to create that parametric information that I mentioned. Because sometimes when we mention some of these things out, the challenge that people always have is connecting the dots on how to implement some of them. Now, example, you have your project that you're working on. One of the basic, this is just the basic, one of the basic parametric identity that you can actually create on your project is, for example, I have about 7 different levels, level 1 to level 9, rather, up to roof. on this project. All right. Now I have my level identification, which is level 0, level 1, down to level 9. Now, under my elements, each step, I listed out the key elements that I want to target in my model. I have from my foundation, column beams, down to my electrical and finished fixtures. All right. Then I now talk about the ID that I want to reference. Now, what I did here now is this. What I did here now is this. When I come down to my structures, for example, I want to create a parameter that I will use to identify all my structures. My structures will now be at level 001. That will be for structures. For the same item in architecture, in my architectural design, will be level 002. For same also, in my mechanical, will be level 003. All right? I don't know if you see a trend in what I'm trying to do here. So what I'm doing is that I will be gradually increasing these numbers gradually, so that when I come to an environment like my Revit environment, and I select all my foundations, and I am looking at my structural foundations, all my foundations will have a parameter IT as level 001. All right? Because whether you like it or not, if you don't find a way to segregate some of this information, when you're looking at a whole build model, it becomes overwhelming. You don't even know where to start from. But if you have this kind of structured numbering system or identification system, that will help you to be able to harvest some of those information. So I did that. I was able to do that under my foundation. These are all the foundations. All right. Then I went further again under my level 1, which is my ground floor itself. These are all the aspects also that I referenced. Remember, see, the trend has changed from 00. It is now on level 101. The number will continue counting, going up, right? Similarly, also, you can also allocate costs to these items. It could be your preliminary costs. You can allocate it to each and every one of these items based on what you're doing. Because all this information that you have now, when you link this file into your BIM model, the whole information carries on in your BIM model automatically, or rather automatically. So now let me also show you this information in my BIM model here. That information in my BIM model, when I choose any of them now, you look at under my ID here. This one shows you better. These are all those identifications now. I've been able to extend because I created them and I know how useful it is to me. So when I came into the Power BI in this BIM model, I was only going to target them to harvest them because I know once I'm able to get them, I can be able to get any aspect of them. Remember level 010 that we talked about. 010 is, okay, that didn't come true. That's not part of the things that come through here. But level 1, L194, L194 I think is a mechanical aspect of it. But when I choose L194, it's only that thing on level L194 that will be showing. When I come down to it, look at it here, that is the only item that is showing. All right? The beauty is that I am now able to isolate only that item which I've given that identity. Every other item has been zeroed out. Now you are able to work on it. If you want to make counts, if you want to make aggregations, you can go further now and do your correlational analysis on this. Like you want to check how many of these items are on this floor. You can go ahead and use DAX rather to do your analysis. I think I have a sample of that analysis that we did here under concrete. When we did a typical example, one, it has to calculate for us the volume of concrete that is in each items. All right, I have something like that. It should be here, or maybe I removed it. I think I removed it. But what I mean by that is I can simply come down here, choose a card, and then drag my concrete and put inside it. I drag my concrete and put inside the card. Now it's telling me that I have a total of 1,907, 1 point something, 1,907 volume cubic meter of concrete. All right. But if I want to know exactly this component, how much of it exactly is my this roof slab I'm looking at? How much of that component is my roof slab? All I need is just select my roof slab, and it will automatically update itself. Now, what I'm doing is correlational analysis now. because it's relating with what you have to give you the information that you're asking it for. So my concrete for my roof slab alone is about 128.1 cubic meter. It goes beyond just concrete alone. You can actually use it on any aspect of the information that you have in your data. So long as you have been able to create the whole environment, create the model, create all the analysis that you need. All you need is just pick the aggregation, the visualization that really match what you have, what you want to communicate, and really use it and communicate the information. So I don't know how we are performing on time, madam.
I was reading about your time. We can give you a few minutes since it's very important.
Okay. So in all, I want to use this opportunity now because one of the challenges I had for myself, exploring and advancing my progress in this environment, is the application access, which I also mentioned to the president yesterday when we had a delegation that went to him yesterday. And he gave us his word that the institute will also look at ways to make that easy and accessible for quantity surveyors so that we can be able to leverage on some of these applications. Because even if you learn it today and you don't have the application because you don't have the fund to buy the license, it becomes a difficult challenge. So, but the institute is going to look at ways that they can be able to stand in the gap to help quantity surveyors to be able to access some of these products. So, I want to talk more about this SPECO. Like I mentioned to us before, it's a free account. But it's a free account. All you need to do for you to be able to create SPECO is whether you have been drawing already in Orion, in Revit, or any application, BIM authoring tool that you're using to do. SPECO already has a connector that works in your application. All right. All you need to do is come in here and sign up. Click on your sign up. Sign up and register a free account. When you have the option, they'll give you about 3 options. One, the one that you have to pay $8 per month, which to me is reasonable enough. If you have a project that can last maybe a year, you can really afford to pay it because it's a project that is going to pay you income. All right. But since you are exploring, all right, one of the things you can do is actually try a free account on them. When you now have a project, you have gotten the basics and understanding, and you can use it and demonstrate your project. So if you have your account on that, it will give you these aspects. You'll be able to create an account in SPECO. When you create a free account in SPECO, they will also give you access to download some of their applications. All right. If you download the applications, some of the applications that they'll give you access is what they call connectors. And those connectors will help you. Those connectors will help you to be able to, when you create any model in your BIM environment, BIM authoring tool, your connectors will now be able to export it out to their cloud account. The account I show you that you're looking at here on the screen is my cloud account. It's not on my living on my computer. And I can give anybody access to any of these models. I can collaborate with anybody. Remember, the catch about BIM is about collaboration. I can collaborate with anybody on this model that they can now be able to have access to the same information that I have. So whatever the architect is doing, every other person on the team is able to see the same thing. So in rounding off, I want to show us that connector from my Navisworks environment. From my Navisworks environment. We're back to the same model we were talking about before. But this time around, if you look up here, you see that I have this tab. It's called my SPECO. All right. When I click open, it opens up for me. I can now be able to open that aspect up. Now, any aspect of this model that I want to send out, even if I have a revision of this model, I don't want to send the whole model out. I want to send only an aspect of that model. All I need is just select that aspect of that model and come to here and click publish. And I click publish. When I click publish, it will now ask me to assign it to any of the projects because you might have different projects running on your account. All right. You send it to any of the projects that you want to work on your account and they publish it. And everybody who is a member or a team member in your project will be notified that there is a new version of that project model that has been published. That way, everybody is notified. Nobody is working on old information. You're not working in silos now because everybody is all working on the same place, right? And with that, I want to encourage us that maybe next time that we meet, we will not be talking about introducing spec reports. We'll be talking about what we have been able to do with the knowledge and the information that we have gotten today. Thank you so much for your attention.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
We have, okay. Thank you very much, sir, for that very insightful. Before you take your question and answers, you have our president give you our appreciation for taking this session to talk. Then we'll take the question and answers that we have from our virtual. Thank you. Round of applause.
CD Martins. You know, you are almost like a household name now amongst quantity surveyors. Because at every of our high profile webinar or workshop, you will feature. It means that you are somebody we can no longer afford to joke with. You are making steadily your impact amongst quantity surveyors. And we are very grateful to you. One of the things that enthused me most about you is that even at short notice, you'll be ready to come and deliver the responsibility that is assigned to you. Yesterday, when we had a tech and tech, guys, I didn't see I did a lot of things. Okay, sorry. Sorry. Yesterday, when we had a tech and tech, yesterday, I saw the adrenaline that you want to continue to push the frontiers. And this webinar is Digital Frontiers in Quantity Surveying Leadership, Empowering Nigerian Built Environment through BIM and AI innovation. That is where we are headed to. I did Dolapo yesterday was talking about those who still use the calculator and those who are in this realm, who will first, if you are given a particular project or a building to deliver the bill of quantities, who will first deliver? Is it the man who is going the traditional way or the one who is on this realm? And of course, by the time he started giving us the demo of what he had, we saw that the man who is in this realm will quickly, in a jiffy, deliver the bill of quantities. We want to thank you. And want to urge you not to get tired. Because the beauty of it is, once you share knowledge, you know that you are, expanding the frontiers. Many people will be better for it, and quantity surveyors will continue to deliver top range, global best practices of services to our clients. On behalf of the foundation and Aubrey Baker, UK, who are the founders of this very high profile webinar, I want to say a very big thank you to you. Congratulations.
Mr. President, please.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Wow, that one looks very beautiful. I hope this is not being gender biased. You understand what I'm not trying to, I noticed that the one they gave the men can easily break. And the one they gave the women, you see, that's why we want to thank you. Yes, I hope you are taking note of our. We didn't know that she's the point surveyor now.
Yes.
We didn't know that we have some of you who are hiding.
Who identify.
We are only people are bringing Shotunde now. Shotunde will be retired. So some of you will be featuring. Some of you will be featuring because we need younger people. Younger people who have what it takes midwife a program like this, and in the last 2 days, you've done brilliantly well. I want to thank you for the coordination. I want to wish you well. And you know, this is just the starting point, because now that you have, you know, they say the golden fish
Does not
does
hide
not
place.
have a hiding place, so you can no longer hide. So I want to tell you that you can no longer hide. On behalf of the NIQS Foundation and Rebecca Fund,
Yes, sir.
we say a very big thank you to you.
Okay, CJ photo section. Thanks. Mr. President, let's get question.
Okay. Oh, no, you. That's very.
MKO, please, yes.
Young lady joined.
Okay, she was just.
I didn't see you. I just promised.
It's showing now. Okay, you guys are.
Look at what I feel like is come and join. No, hold on. Let the FNIQS join. Then the rest will go outside. So that they will turn it. So too many women here. Okay. No, you come close.
Yes.
Okay. What else is going on?
Yes, I'm not giving my.
Okay.
Hold on, that. I'm not taking this one. I'm not taking it. Thank you.
After this, it's not
Yes.
after you.
Yeah.
This event today has been a very successful, another very successful session. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining. We're going to be having the brain, the engine.
Someone said you want their photograph.
Yes, yes, you need to tell them to put on the cameras.
Their cameras, and
Yes.
then we'll take it.
Okay.
When we have, we're owing them question and answers from the last speaker. So we're going to briefly cover that.
Yes.
And then have a vote of thanks of the BGNIQS Foundation. Very quickly.
Hassana, I can help
Yes.
with some of the questions, please.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, permit me, my able DG and our distinguished Mr. President. One of the questions is addressed to both the DG of the foundation and the president of the NIQS. Please, can we have a structured class for learning the practical sessions through a paid class via QS Academy and NIQS Foundation? This was a question posted by QS Patrick Nwafodo. Please, sir, we would like your response on that, please. Mr. President, thank you. You have the floor.
Yes, we already very shortly, I guess in the next 1 month, we'll start with a webinar, and that webinar will transcend to also expanding into having physical sessions. But we'll start with a webinar, and that webinar will just be like we'll be heralding the technical sessions that will follow. So we're already thinking about that.
Thank you very much, sir. That is so wonderful of you. We have a next question, please, and this is directed to QS Chijoke. It is said, it appears that a QS needs to have a solid ICT and programming skill background to be able to navigate these applications. For someone just being introduced to this knowledge and lecture for the first time, what skills will I need to have? Also, do you offer individual trainings? How do we contact you? This is from QS Donald Oga Badu. Please, I hope I didn't ruin your name. QS Chijoke, please, can you respond to this question?
Yes, it is not really necessary for you to have programming skills if you have to go far in this aspect. But it's important, it will help you to do a lot of things. But it's not really necessary that you must have a programming skills. But I also encourage us that one of the, like I mentioned before, one of the most commonest application that we use in quantity surveying, which is Excel, is there. And it has Power Query at the back of it. When you look at your Excel ribbon, your interface, you will see one aspect that says data, the tab that says data. Inside that data, you will see one that says get data. That is Power Query actually. So I encourage us, if you want to make a fresh start on this, my organization, CAD Professional, also has some training sections on data analytics that we do. Even though on my own, I want to, Mr. President, sir, yes, please. I want to volunteer for Plum because it's something I've had in my mind. I want to volunteer to be part of the data analytics section that NIQS may want to have. You will be part of
So they demonstrated something.
I already know you will be part of it.
So the whole essence
We are just confirming that we are part of it. Thank you very much.
The whole essence is that I want us to know these things. It has been there before, but nobody told us that it's important. But now that the foundation and the institute is carrying it on top of their heads to tell us that it's important, we have to make it important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, QS Chijioke. Thank you so much for giving us your undivided attention within the Institute. Please, this is from an anonymous attendee. It says, good initiative. This is directed towards the DG. The NIQS Foundation and the NIQS is doing its best in terms of development of all members by conducting series of professional courses. I really commend their outstanding performance in moving the profession forward. To my able DG, thank you so much for all you do. To the NIQS president, thank you so much. This is another comment by QS Abdul Salam Latif Olaide. Well done, sir. For better understanding, we need to try it on our own individually and practice them time to time for we as beginners to have a full package of all the software applications that and links to be installed on our laptops and a medium, we can easily ask questions if problems arise. QS Chijioke, I believe you've already responded to this question as well, indicating that you're very much available to conduct practical training sessions for quantity surveyors, and you have left your contact with the Institute. Anyone in this session that wants to get across to QS Chijioke can get across to the Institute and have his contact made available. Thank you so much. Please, Hassanat Compare, does anyone have a physical question to our attendees in the hall?
Questions, concerns, additions? None. Thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead with the opening remark by closing remark.
You have enjoyed it. You don't want us to talk.
Too much for us to stop right now. I mean, in person of QS Celestina Nketi, PhD, FNIQS, MNI, aka Lolo, aka my boss, the brain, the box, the engine. I'm not an interested. She stands as a transformative leader in Nigeria's construction and financial service sector, with over 25 years of distinguished expertise, bridging policy making, strategic planning, and infrastructure development. Her illustrious career spans executive roles at First Bank of Nigeria Limited and pioneering positions within the NIQS, where she twice served as council member, trailblazer professional bodies, where she was founding treasurer of the Women Association of Quantity Surveyors, and currently serves as a WIMBIS Board of Trustees member. Armed with a PhD in construction management from Glasgow College University and credentials from the Nigerian National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, she champions sustainable development through her role as Director General of the NIQS Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, QS Celestina Nketi, PhD at the NIQS, Emina.
Thank you very much, Hassana. Mr. President, you know how I discovered her? She came to serve in my office.
Okay.
And I keep telling, normally people think I'm difficult, but I'm not just difficult. I want them to learn. And once I demarcate, I segment my work, time for play, time for work, time to do other things. So she was one of the people that understood me so well. She knows, she can see my body language when I'm ready to work and when we're ready to play. So I know that there's something about you and I'll help. So this is where we started. With your permission, Mr. President, I'll just read my closing remark.
Okay.
Distinguished participants, colleagues, and champions of digital transformation. As we conclude this remarkable journey through digital frontiers in quantity survey leadership, I'm filled with immense pride and optimism for the future of our profession in Nigeria. Over this transformative session, you have not merely attended a training program, you have positioned yourself as architects of change in Nigeria's youth environment. The knowledge you have acquired from our distinguished facilitators, QS Adedelapo, QS Chijoke, represents the cutting edge of quantity surveying practice. From AI-powered project control system to 5D beam cost modeling. From data analytics to digital twin technology, we have now possessed the tools that will define the next generation of quantity surveying excellence. However, knowledge without application remains dormant potential. The true measure of this program's success will be witnessed in your workplaces, on your projects, and within your organizations as you implement these digital innovations. You are now equipped to lead the transformation that our profession demands and the Nigerian construction industry desperately needs. The NIKS Foundation, through the generous support of the Aubrey Baker Fund UK, has invested in you because we believe you are the catalyst for change. You represent the bridge between traditional quantity surveying practice and the digital future that awaits us. Your responsibility extends beyond personal development. You are ambassadors of innovation who must inspire, mentor, and guide others along the digital journey. As you return to your respective roles, remember that you carry with you not just new skills, but a vision of what quantity surveying can become in the digital age. Embrace the challenges ahead, leverage the networks you have built here, and continue to push the boundaries of what is possible in our profession. The future of quantity surveying in Nigeria is bright, and it rests confidently in your capable hands. Go forth and lead the digital transformation that will elevate our profession to unprecedented heights. Thank you for your commitment, the encouragement, and the dedication to excellence in the profession of quantity surveying. And thank you especially to NIQ's president for all your support. Without you, we wouldn't have achieved what we have done. And I must commend you personally, Mr. President, for taking our time 2 days to be here with us. It's heartwarming that you are here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Virtual picture. But
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
My
very
dear-
much. Virtual participant, kindly.
Please, ma'am,
Somebody's talking.
Go on, please.
our virtual participants would like to take a photo shoot, please.
They should put on their cameras.
Yes, please. They can go ahead, put on their camera.
To our online participants, please turn on your cameras for us to take a picture of our virtual attendees, please. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be taking the picture in the screenshot in the next 10 seconds, please. Thank you very much. Thank you so much to all online attendees. We've taken a screenshot of everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. So online attendees, just click on the video icon on your Zoom app and you'll be able to turn on your cameras, please. Thank you. Isa Danjuma, we see you. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. Just give me a second. And yes, we have that. Thank you very much, QS. Danjuma, we appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to come online and just turn on your cameras, turn on your cameras. Yes, QS Ugochukwu Victor, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for obliging us. We can see you. We acknowledge you, QS Ujoke, QS Ugochukwu Victor. Yes. I can see we also have another participant online. QS Demide, where are you? QS Solomon Monye, you're welcome. QS Solomon Monye, you're welcome. You're welcome. I see you. Thank you so much for making out the time to be a participant of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember that the program materials will be sent via email to all participants. I can see everyone coming on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. QS Alexander Mesa, thank you so much for coming online. We see you. We appreciate you. QS Samson Okoro, we see you. We see you. Thank you so much. We are really excited to have each and every one of you join us. The screenshots are coming on. We are taking them. Just turn on your cameras, turn on the video icon on your Zoom app, and your camera will come on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We see you. We see you. We see you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We appreciate each and every one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, the program is coming to an end and we'll be logging offline. Does anyone else want to turn on their cameras for us to see them? QS Studio, Ugochukwu, QS Solomon, and QS Samson Okoro. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Abba Dawa, QS Abel Dawa, and QS Abdul Wahib Hadisabi. Thank you so much for calling. Oh, sorry for murdering your name. Forgive me. Thank you so much for the correction. You're welcome. We see you. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. We have another person, QS Aliyu Abubakar. You're welcome. You're welcome. We appreciate you for taking the time to join us in this program, for turning on your camera, registering your attendance. We're currently taking a photo shot for all online attendees. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. QS Samson Okoro, I see you're still there. I see you. I cite you. QS Aliyu, thank you so much. We appreciate you. QS Abel Dawa, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, at this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I will be turning off the session. Thank you so much to everyone. We appreciate you. Do have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye. Signing out from NIQS Foundation. QS Chigozie Frederick, I see you. Thank you for coming online. QS Abdul Ghaffar, I see you. Thank you so much for coming online. I appreciate you. We're still taking screenshots for online participants. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming online. QS Ali Abolaji, you're welcome. I see you. I see you. Just give me a moment and I will get the screenshot on. Thank you so much. Yes, I've taken the screenshot. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. Okay, QS Olufisayo Adedoku. QS Olufisayo Adedoku is online. QS Mustafa Abdullahi. QS Mustafa Abdullahi, you're welcome. I like your office. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Come on, I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. QS Muhammad Abdul Kadir, welcome. Thank you so much for coming online. We appreciate you. Just give me a moment. Let me do the screenshots and done. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming online. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. QS Mustafa, thank you very much. We appreciate you. QS Sunday John Oche, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Yes, QS Sunday John Oche is live, and yes, I see you. I see you. I've taken a screenshot, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. QS Sakiruddin Olawale, you're welcome. Thank you for coming online. We appreciate you. I see you. I appreciate you. You're welcome. I've taken a screenshot. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, QS Sunday John Oche. Thank you for taking a screenshot. QS Sakiruddin Olawale, thank you. QS Muhammad Abubakar, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for showing your face. We appreciate you. Give me a moment, taking a screenshot. Thank you so much. We have a distinguished lady among us. Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment. QS Abdul Salam Latifat. QS Abdul Salam Latifat, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much for making your time. We have two distinguished ladies. Give me a moment, please. QS Lola Day, you're welcome. Thank you for taking out your time to attend the program. We appreciate you. Thank you. Screenshots are still coming. Screenshots are still coming. Feel free to turn on the camera function of your Zoom to connect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. QS Lolade S, you can unmute yourself. Thank you. We appreciate you for coming online. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.